All right, second time's the charm. Time to do picks on Dominic Cruz versus Demetrius Johnson, October 1st, this Saturday. Coming to you from Washington, D.C. This is the first free title fight, I think. I could be mistaken. Minus the, of course, well, in America, anyways. First live one because we had the tape delay Rampage versus Dan Henderson title fight UFC 75, but that was tape delay. So here we go. Starting on the lower card, working our way up. Joseph Sandoval, YL Johnson, or YL Watson. Great start. Taking Sandoval via unanimous decision. I think he's just better, pretty much all around than Watson is. He's a big prospect. Watson's not small prospect by any means, but I think Sandoval's sort of the one being set up here to look good. Keith Wisniewski, Josh Neer, good fight. Two guys come back after some time away from the UFC. Keith Wisniewski's been on a roll lately. Seems like Dumoulin Valley Tudo in general has been on a bit of a roll because they, of course, also have Eddie Wineland, who has very much resurrected his career, and so is Keith Wisniewski. That being said, had this fight happened some time ago, I would have taken Josh Neer. I'm still taking Josh Neer, although it appears Josh Neer gave up on his lightweight dreams and has come back to welterweight. Neer, I think, is the better stand-up guy. I think his wrestling's enough to neutralize Wisniewski's wrestling. I think his ground game is better than Wisniewski's. And I think that's, in the end, the key. Josh Neer is also a tough guy, and he should take this by unanimous decision. TJ Grant making his debut at lightweight versus Shane Roller. Depending on how the weight cut goes, this could be interesting because Grant will be the bigger man. That being said, I think Roller has better hands. He definitely has better wrestling. I think his ground game is to the point where he should be able to avoid TJ Grant's submissions. And if he feels he can't, he can try and keep this standing and outbox TJ Grant. Overall, I got to go with Shane Roller. I don't really see a way for him to finish this fight, although he has shown he has some heavy hands in the past and some subs. But Grant's a hard guy to finish. I think we're looking at a unanimous decision for Shane Roller. Then we have the late replacement here, Mike Easton versus Byron Bloodworth. Byron Bloodworth looks pretty good. He's a guy who's actually on a bit of a roll lately. But in the end, he's taking on Mike Easton, who is a prospect who's kind of been brewing for some time. He's 10-1. He's got a bunch of wins of guys that you'll know, mostly because he, has wins over two members of the current Ultimate Fighter cast, and Josh Ferguson and John Dobson. He's also beaten Justin Robbins and Chase Beebe during this recent 5-fight winning streak he's had. I think that I don't know a lot about Bloodworth. I haven't seen him fight a lot, but I think Easton should be able to outwork him in this one, take him down, outstrike him when he has to, and control this unanimous decision. I haven't picked a finish yet, which is kind of bugging me. Paul Sass versus Michael Johnson. Paul Sass, also known as the Sass Angle, as far as I know, really just has the ability to pull a guard and submit you. I don't think that will work with Michael Johnson. Michael Johnson is by no means a world beater, runner-up in the GSP CZ Ultimate Fighter, and he's also been prone to getting submitted in the past, but when you have a considerable striking advantage, which he does, a considerable athletic advantage, which he does, a considerable wrestling advantage, which he does, he should just be able to keep this from going to the ground. And, Paul Sass, I've never seen anything that makes me believe he doesn't have a very good chin. He's, of course, 11-0. I mean, that says what it says. But his wins are over no one that has a considerable wrestling game. And this is a guy who does have a considerable wrestling game. I think Michael Johnson. Unanimous decision again. Oh, my God. Give me a finish. Eve Edwards versus Rafael Oliveira. Oliveira's back after some time away from the UFC. Let's just see how well he's been doing. No, wait. This is his second fight in this stint in the UFC. Lost to Gleason Tebow by rear naked choke earlier this year. Of course, also loser to Andre winner Nick Lentz beat John Gunderson. If Eve Edwards I don't want to say of old, because it was pretty recent when Eve Edwards looked pretty good. But if the Eve Edwards who fought Sam Stout comes out, I don't really see him being able to win this fight. Even the one that fought Cody McKenzie, because he got, Cody McKenzie came pretty close a couple times in there. Might win this fight, or might lose this fight. But if a good Eve Edwards comes out, I think he's a much better striker than Oliveira. I think he's a better wrestler than Oliveira, and that generally spells the end for Rafael Oliveira. I don't know if Edwards finishes him. Oliveira's not the easiest guy in the world to finish, at least via the kind of way that he would want to do it. He got subbed by T-Bound. He got stopped by the doctor against beer bomb. But in the way that Eve Edwards is going to want to do it, I think Oliveira's chin's good enough to keep this fight just to go into the end. And another decision. So I'm predicting no finishes on the Facebook part of the card. It's just weird. Matt Wyman, Mac Danzig in a rematch of a previous fight. Throw the previous fight out. It was kind of a bad stoppage and just too short to really tell a lot from. That being said, Matt Wyman won it. I think that's, well, it's not a realistic advantage. It's a mental advantage that he might have. And Matt Wyman's not been the most mentally strong fighter, in my opinion. Sometimes he just comes in there and kind of shuts down when things don't go his way. And I think knowing that he won the first fight will allow him to be a little mentally stronger. I think he's a better wrestler than Danzig. The striking is, I think, kind of a wash, but I think Danzig or Wyman can mix it up, uses stand-up to set up a couple takedowns, and then kind of, get back to the feet or control from top. I don't really see Danzig being able to submit him from bottom, although I do think Danzig is the better pure grappler. Going with Matt Wyman via another unanimous decision here, but if Matt Wyman comes out and looks ugly, Mac Danzig should put him away pretty quickly. And that's unfortunately been the case occasionally for Wyman. Anthony Johnson, Charlie Brenneman, finally a finish, taking Johnson via KO or TKO. Charlie Brenneman's coming off of a big, huge win over Rick Story. That being said, he's not as big as Johnson. I don't think he's as athletic as Johnson. And Johnson is a pretty good wrestler and a very good kickboxer. Of course, he generally has problems making weight, and if you can take him in the deeper rounds, I think Brenneman could win this. But I don't see Brenneman having the skills required to continuously take Johnson down. Better wrestlers have tried and had, not failures, but difficulties doing it. And I think that's the key right there. I think Johnson, TKO, KO, second round. Then we're looking at Pat Barry, Stefan Struve. Stefan Struve's chin is questionable with the knockouts at the hands of Roy Nelson, Junior Dos Santos, and Travis Brown. Granted, all big hitters, but you know who else is a big hitter? Pat Barry. Pat Barry should win this fight first or second round with a TKO, KO. Struve is better on the ground, but his wrestling is not that good. Pat Barry is a reasonable defensive wrestler, and I don't see Struve being able to get there other than to pull guard, which may not be the best idea to have the heavy hands of Pat Barry hitting that chin. So I got Pat Barry taking this one over Stefan Struve, first or second round TKO. Then in the main event, Dominic Cruz, Demetrius Johnson. Interesting fight, but I think I have to favor Dominic Cruz in a lot of areas. I think his stand-up is better. I think his movement is really amongst the best in the 135 division. His footwork is astounding. He's very good at turning it up and turning it down in terms of the pace, managing his cardio very, very well. Demetrius Johnson is good at all of these things and is a very good wrestler. The problem is I just don't see him being able to keep up with Cruz's unorthodox changes in styling, and also what I'm going to assume just off of, visual watching. Demetrius Johnson is 5'3", of course, and Dominic Cruz is 5'8". And sometimes the reach does surprise you, but what should be a very large reach advantage for Dominic Cruz and size advantage, Demetrius Johnson's just not that big. So I see Cruz, doing his thing and winning a decision here, because I just don't see Demetrius Johnson being able to continuously get inside the reach to land shots or land takedowns. But we'll see. It's still an interesting fight because Demetrius Johnson is very explosive. He is very fast. and we'll see what happens here. But I thought Dominic Cruz, unanimous decision in a very decision-heavy card. That's all for now. Have a good one.